remember everything that was that we've discussed. So we've had some good things happening this year, a lot of interaction, a lot of sharing, and you know, some utilities have done some really cool work, like, you know, and I'm sorry, I'm surprised that Duncan is not here from DC Water. They've done some really nice stuff on business case evaluation, but I talked to him last week. He may be out. So what I thought that we would do today is kind of chat a little bit about the sort of work plan for next year. What kind of things we could focus on, what kind of things people are interested in. And I wanted to also, thank you, Scott.
Yep.
And I also wanted to toss out a couple of ideas. So we have these 6 initiatives. Anyway, before I launch into this, does anybody have any comments or thoughts that they want to share before I? Okay. Well, just raise your hand so I can, you know, see if somebody wants to interrupt me. Just imagine that there's like a pause button there in Microsoft Teams. So we have worked on these sub-processes and utilities have defined them. So the first, I think, and really important thing to do is proceed with these pilots and actually go through, perform the assessments, and use the methodology that we've been creating and the tools that we've been creating for the past 5 years. And so we have, I think that pretty much every utility that's on the call today has already identified the business processes that they want to address. So the program team will be here, Mike Barnett and Scott and I, to help in any way that we can go through this. So the first and most important focus would be for us to support these efforts to make some tangible, real kind of improvements on a shorter time scale. So that's the first area of focus. I wanted to see if there are any thoughts or comments about that. Oh, there's Duncan.
Okay. Making sense so far?
Does it make sense so far? Anybody seeing anything disturbing or hearing anything disturbing, please raise your hand. The second thing that I thought we should try to do is, and this is already starting to happen, we have these initiatives that are addressing different pieces, but there's a possibility, some exciting possibility to start connecting the work of different teams. One of the things that I see as an opportunity here is the CIP process actually requires a lot of data. There's a lot of information that would be required to put together a CIP. So we have our newest team that has been formed most recently has been this technology and data analytics. But it would be nice if we incorporate, in addition to doing the pilots, to break new ground into looking at one of the big challenges in most utilities, which is integration of data that exists in different systems, and how to access all the different types of information that you would need for different business processes within the CIP process. So that would integrate the work of this technology column with the business process column, and we already have assessment tool that connects the two that we've talked about. And if anybody wants any a primer on that and a reminder, let me know. I'd be more than happy to set up a one-on-one session and go through it and explain what's there. So those are the two things that I thought would be the core of our effort. Continue with the pilots so that we can see some tangible improvements happening in utilities in the shorter time scale, and then share the experiences with in these types of meetings. We would, utilities would say, okay, well, this is what we've done, this is the process that we're working on, these are the challenges that we're seeing, and stuff like that. And also perhaps look at including the technology a bit more in the both the assessments and the methodology, and as we go forward. So those are the two key areas that I see that there are opportunities. And I'm going to stop now and see what the thoughts are. I see Dan looks like he's got a question.
No, I'm just just thinking. So, but yeah, I like where you're headed there. I would just say, what, and I'm sure we're not alone, that we got started on an improvement initiative this last year, and we've made some good progress. And of course, coming off of vacation, I kind of feel this way about a lot of things, that it's like keeping things moving, getting things started up again. It's like things, you kind of set it down, it gets stalled, and how to just keep progressing, through the improvement cycle. And I guess the other part of it too is the navigating as changes occur in staff, and just changes in the organization or changes in priorities, being able to pivot, get to a finish point on what we've kind of started, and then be able to pivot to other things as well. So, yeah, I like, I think that fits in with kind of your pilot projects, continuation piece.
Yeah, Scott?
Yeah, I'm not, I have a comment more in terms of also how can individuals that are participating on teams, in addition to those outcomes that in major areas, what are some enablers that the team could spend some time on together or separately. And one thing was that what we've discovered is that, and Dan, you've been through this, is that there's a learning process to be able to use those tools and those assessments and the various pieces, and basically training on those is really important. And there's also some learning experiences from those that have begun to engage, and you've reported on some of those. So the sharing of those experiences also going to be important to this group. And then of course, Mike and Cello, particularly on the business process modeling, and the learning associated with that is important too. So, and then I guess I just mentioned it also, but the third thing is make sure that there's the connections between the different organizations on what the experiences are, and it is beginning to prompt some interest for some collaboration between utilities on certain topics. I can see, for example, in Duncan's on that, I know a utility that's interested in business case evaluation and actually pursuing that. Well, they would want to, talk to Duncan and learn from the work that's been done. And so there's some, connections are still important, in sharing of that. So I'll stop with that, but just to say, there's the time we spend together, and the time that you spend, with knowledge transfer and learning and all of that, is really an important aspect.
Okay. One thing that was exciting about a year and a half ago, that when our friends from the UK presented their efforts on, quote, digital asset management plans. And that was really an example of using technology to enable the business processes, to enable communication, to making decision making. So there's maybe an equivalent thought on having, digital CIP that's not, a paper document that gets produced or something like that, but it's something that's more of a living document that collects information throughout the year. so these opportunities to start, because we had to like divide and conquer a little bit in the beginning into these areas of interest. But when we start applying, it'll be good to combine, people from different teams to work on these topics. So that's kind of. I saw Jenny may nod ahead, a brief nod. So did you have something you wanted to mention?
No, just that I still reference that presentation from Team 2100 frequently in our department. And I think it's a recording that you have of that, because it was just an amazing example, I think, of using modern tools to reimagine kind of a common utility practice.
Yeah. So we could do this in the area of CIP as well, actually, and work towards having a different type of approach to creating, sharing, developing these documents and stuff like that, and using them. So those are the two ideas that I had, and I was going to see what kind of feedback I can get today on, because I would like to start preparing a draft work plan that I would share with, the teams. So I wanted to collect your comments and thoughts, or what would make next year, what you would be interested most in the work plan for next year.
Yeah, I would just want to mention too, that one thing we've talked a lot about is actually expanding the participation in the team, right, Cello? So the interest, and Dan, you mentioned there's changes in organizations and turnover and different things that happen. And, we've got great people that are attending this call, but we also want to try to get more people involved. So particularly as you do new business processes and those kind of things, it's going to be real important to get others involved and make sure that it's a lot of participation.
Yeah. Well, I didn't intentionally create any Mentimeter exercise for today, because I wanted to have more of a I don't know, conversational style today, and I'm not sure how long we need for this, but at least to plant the seeds to start thinking about how we're going to approach next year. The other thing that will be very valuable for us, for the program team, if all of you can send us an email. I hesitate to ask this, but you can definitely bring it up now, is what are the types of things that worked well in year one? And what are the types of things that maybe need improvement, or you wished there was a little bit more of that and a little bit less of that, a little bit more of Scott, a little bit less of cello, whatever it is. And that'll be my thought. And so that would be very helpful. And it's not easy. We were hoping to bridge this gap a little bit by the in-person workshop in Kansas City, because when we were hoping that personal, in-person interaction was going to trigger and spawn and encourage communication during the rest of the year. But for a number of different reasons, it was really a difficult thing to pull off in terms of getting enough participation. And Kansas City folks and Scott have done an amazing job putting all the things in place. But it didn't quite get to the point where we felt we would have enough. A number of utilities are not able to travel yet. One person told me, which really kind of made an impression on me, said, we have so many thousands of delinquent accounts that there's been this pandemic forgiveness, and now that's going away. And we're going to have to, maybe shut off water to some people or something. imagine if there's a story in the paper, they're shutting up my water and they're going to a conference, you know, that wouldn't be good. That wouldn't look good. So we took all of these things into account, and he said, you know, remote, everybody can participate, and we also may have the ability to shape it in such a way that it's maybe, you know, shorter pieces rather than anyway. It was a lot of struggle, and I'm the first one to admit I was kind of disappointed that I'm not going to come to Kansas City and check it out. But anyway, so that's another update.
Maybe going around and just getting feedback like you were asking for. Dan is always a easy person to
Well, he's a target. He's a
to target, you know, but just calling on people and saying does this sound like, you know, it's on track? Do you have different suggestions? Are there things ideas that you have? Maybe just go around, because Cello just needs to be able to put together that work plan and make sure we're doing that for all the teams.
Yeah.
So Dan, any further comments, and then we can maybe just get any input from others?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'll put some thought into the email and just kind of what worked well and what can we improve. The thing I'm thinking about is I really do appreciate these calls to be able to bring people together around some topics and discussion, and but I also recognize that, you know, we maybe don't need quite every 2 weeks the entire year. So just trying to figure out how to leverage that and get the most value out of that for everybody that's involved. So that's kind of just one thing that came to mind.
That's a great one. I'm going to step away just for a second to bring my notepad, because I got to start writing things down. I'll be right back. Right back.
Yeah. How do others feel on that? Just in terms of frequency of meetings, given the fact that the hope is that you're off doing, you know, your own improvements too, using these tools, as it makes sense to have monthly versus biweekly meetings. You know, maybe some in-between meetings, you know, with some of the project team to, you know, help you as needed. But what makes sense? What sounds good to people? Any other comment on what Dan just said? Jenny, Deb, Michael, Brian?
Yeah, actually, it
Hey,
looks like Noemi came up here, so yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna.
there's Noemi.
Yeah, Noemi.
Yeah,
So go
good
ahead.
morning, everyone. I just wanted to say that I think for me, in my personal kind of experience, that what has worked very well and has helped me a lot is the one-on-one meetings with Cello and Mike. I mean, of course, it's super good to have you know, a meeting together, but you know, you get a little more knowledge transfer when you get the one-on-one, and the notes that Mike and Cello send you know, normally send you. So I think that's great. You know, I wish we had more, but I don't know if Cello and Mike can, you know, do that for everyone. But yeah, I think that is important. You know, I was also looking forward to the Kansas City workshop for sure. You know, so because it's you know, you could see people, you know, in person, and I mean, and probably the workshops were going to be super great. But I mean, hopefully the virtual one will be something similar. So yeah, I think that I mean, of course, I don't have the experience on that workshop yet, but I'm pretty sure that, you know, like a little bit more intensive will work well too. The other thing I want to say is that, you know, if we put action items for each of us a little more, you know, serious, like, you know, do this or something that we want to work on, that also will help me, I think. I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
That is very helpful. So what I have is just going to make sure that my notes are okay. Frequency of calls. I have another ask. The time at 7:30 was selected when we had the Brits on board, because that, that's, although they're not in the EU, they're still kind of part of Europe, and they don't, they're a little particular about how long they stay at work and everything. So anyway, and there's a 8-hour difference between. So with everybody going back to work, or it's more difficult for people on the West Coast to make the 7:30. Is there any objection if we move this to like 8 o'clock? Would that be okay?
Chelo, my personal thing is that I think 7:30 works very well for me, because all their meetings start at 8:30.
Yeah, Monday kicks off the week and there's a whole day
Okay.
full of meetings. So I mean, the 7:30 time frame actually has been working pretty well. And I was going to add to Noemi's what she shared. I mean, I do feel that that San Francisco is still playing catch up. Noemi is our, the driver for us right now, really boots on the ground, trying to pull things together, and very focused on very specific items right now. So again, playing to catch up, the one-on-one, the training that we're talking about doing with Michael, that's something we are looking forward to. But as far as really having a vision for where we are going next year, I think it's premature for me to put that out there. So
Excellent. So we're going to leave it at 7:30. And another thought from Dan, I think he's going to maybe think about it, is to reconsider what's the best frequency, and to respond to the one-on-one things. We're definitely here and ready and help and keen to help in such conversations. We also feel that we can get a lot of stuff done in these one-on-one calls. When we call it one-on-one, we mean a program team and just one utility there. So especially if you want to bring somebody new on board, somebody who's maybe a little bit earlier in their career that you want to develop and engage, and maybe to take some of the load off and learn some things like, the BPMN and stuff like that, please let us know. That we also very much support and like these one-on-one conversations, because people will say things in these conversations that they don't necessarily say when there's a group meeting, and it's a learning opportunity for the program team to better understand what the needs are and how to better meet them. In-person workshop, I'm just giving you my thought about this. I think that'd be marvelous if we can do this again. The other the comments that we were getting, part of what is that WEFTEC is so close to the time when we were planning the workshop for Kansas City. So we heard comments like, wait, I'll have to choose. I can't go to 2 things within a month. So we will follow up with a proposed agenda and structure for a remote workshop, but also we are going to plan a new in-person workshop, and maybe conduct a poll to see what would be a good time. And Scott's gonna again be kind of taking the lead on this. I haven't told him this before, but I thought if I tell him in front of other people, he's not gonna say no, So he has a lot of experience in these types of things. So we also want to do it. As far as action items, it would be wonderful and to develop those. We can track them, we can post them, but it would be better if, instead of us setting the action items, we can have some general ones, but we can have a discussion one-on-one with utilities. We feel we're not really here to give you homework and stuff like that. So, but definitely we will, I put down that we should have a better mechanism, transparent mechanism of what the deadlines are and when people are going to be doing things. I actually sent out a spreadsheet asking people to contribute exactly that kind of information. I haven't gotten a lot of response. So Jenny, you have a hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to share from my perspective what I think has worked well is reiterating what you're saying about sharing and in person. And I don't know if this kind of relates to the scheduling, but I think of the presentation that Brian and is it V or Vi gave on the levels of service and their process at San Francisco. I thought that was really valuable, as well as the presentations from DC Water or Team 2100. And that if there could be maybe, if we're meeting less frequently or trying to have a kind of monthly presentation where there's a chance to showcase a utility, the work that they're doing, the challenge they're facing, wherever they are in this journey. Because for Tacoma Water, we've been around, involved for 3 years now, so we're a little bit more along. Brian's like, we're playing catch up. We've got a better handle on some of the tools so we can show how we're applying them. But if you're starting out, you can share, here's where we're at. This is the challenges we're facing. Who else has faced similar challenges? And it gives everyone an opportunity to ask questions, for that utility to present their challenges and get feedback on that. I think that's really valuable. And I think there might be a way to leverage, there's multiple teams. So thinking about what Chris Wu and Mert are working on the life cycle modeling, there might be people in this group that aren't attending that meeting as frequently that would want to hear about that. So if we know when that presentation's happening, even if it's not this 7:30 CIP meeting, that's an open invite to anyone involved to bring their members and hear about that life cycle modeling tool, especially because it looks like that one, because I've just re-engaged that group, is a deliverable of this WEF program. So
That's a great comment.
To share that and how to use it in the same way that you've shared how to use these assessment tools. I think that could be a way to leverage some of the learning going on and then the subgroups.
Excellent comment. Excellent comment. Thank you very much.
Duncan, you haven't spoken up yet. What are your comments about all this?
I'm just absorbing it, but a couple of things that the first one is I think we got an invoice. Maybe this is a little off on WISE and WEF for next year. Every utility has to register every year, and we pay a certain amount for to WEF for being members of the WISE, this WISE. And there was a report there of what we have accomplished this year. There was and some of the things that have been accomplished and what is intended to be accomplished next year. So I would ask all the utility members to look at the proposed objectives and goals for next year on that report. It's like one page, is not very detailed. This is one-page report that they talk about what's intended to be accomplished and what we accomplished this year. In fact, there is a mention of in-person conference in Kansas City, which didn't happen. But but I work with everybody. I wish we had the opportunity to meet in person. I think that would have helped, but it didn't happen. One thing that I think we need to go back and reemphasize is obviously this is business process models improvement. But one thing I would like us to keep on emphasizing is the component of people, organization, and process and technology, all those items that we've been talking about, that triangle of the people, technology, organization, and processes improvement, that we need to keep that in mind in everything that we do. And we know which area, whether it's technology, but they are all kind of connected. And I think, Cheryl, you started by how we can integrate all that. And I'm thinking that triangle, we want to make sure we don't lose sight of that. And whichever area, be it technology or people or organization that we need to improve upon. I think that's where we can try to bring people together. My concern is, I think we started with high participation, but now looks like everybody has, whether the meeting is held monthly or bi-weekly, the participation has seemed to be going down for whatever reason. So if there is one thing maybe we need to do is reach out to other utilities and make sure, I mean, we can ask, how come there were some active members when we started, and we can ask them what happened, how come, whether it's you, Scott or Cheryl, you can ask them, how come you don't come to these meetings anymore? Just to bring back everybody in the mix, because we all benefit from diverse group of people, including organizations. So I think one thing we need to do is there was some people who fell on the wayside as we in this journey, and we need to reach out to them, the utilities, and see why they are not as active as they were, be it organizational changes, promotions, new management, whatever it is. I think we need to go back and look at that. Otherwise, we cannot keep on. This is not sustainable. That the group is getting smaller, and that's my concern. As much information as we are provided. And that's all I had, like maybe going back and reaching out and getting lessons learned from those who are active, who are participating at the beginning, and some of these utilities or representatives are not, I don't see them as much.
Okay.
Yeah, one comment on that, Duncan, really good comments. Thank you for that. One thing is we did have webcasts during the year where the different teams were able to present. Also, we do have WEF as a more active member, and they are dealing with kind of the marketing associated with those people who attended those webcasts. So they're trying to actually reach out in that regard. But so you're talking, Duncan, about who we already had on the team. There's also other utilities, and I know Kansas City, for example, has identified some others that we're trying to bring into the fold and kind of expand this. But maybe others would have comments on whether we're talking about featuring, like Jenny was saying, maybe on a monthly basis, what's the progress of different, kind of utilities that they're making. Well, we might want to highlight some of those for a broader WEF audience as well, just to, continue that tradition and get more people involved that way.
Yeah, Duncan, all your comments are excellent. And as far as participation, I reached out to every utility separately and talked to people and asked them, for those who are participating less, I asked them. And to a person, they said, we still find value, we still like it, but we are so slammed. And especially in organizations that have recently had organizational changes. Because the leadership changes, and then it's, there's also a story. If we look back a little bit historically, some of the strongest contributors, I'll mention by names, Mike Stoll, who the first 2 years was like the lead and everything. He got promoted to a position that makes it a lot more difficult for him to participate. Kevin Simmons, he was a lead, participated, presented, did a phenomenal job, got promoted and put in charge of like a different division in solid waste. So what happens is that it's a double-edged sword. When we have people who are really passionate and participating, but they don't bring in that's why I was mentioning bringing in somebody who's maybe at a different, point in the career. Because these folks are driven and they want to do an excellent job. So when they get moved up to it makes it more difficult. So spreading things out, spreading participation out is what a utility can make to make that easier. But you know, there are, it is very difficult because the people who are bringing value to WISE are also noticed for being bringing value into organizations, and they move them around, and it's a little bit difficult to recover from that anyway. So, but these are excellent comments.
Vancouver and Deb's on the line from MCES. I mean, Deb, they've made special efforts to try to coordinate further engagement, and what we've seen, you know, Deb will attend this call, but in fact, there are several other people that have engaged on other teams now, and they're actually involved with learning and from the program team so that they can carry some things forward too. So I think that you know, just the idea of getting others involved, there are some good examples of that, and you know, Deb, I don't know if you have any comments, but she's done a great job of trying to pull that together, and she's even pulling together a how are we going to basically create the platform within our own utility so that this becomes, you know, a standard that we wind up using. So Deb, you might want to comment.
Yeah, you've said it all, so I don't have to say very much. But it is, I think the one problem that at least we see is there are lots of people who are ready, willing, and able, and really want to do these kinds of things, and they're participating, but they don't really know, well, how do I get more done in our organization? How do we make this happen in our organization? And especially with the leadership, we're told, oh, our general manager is on board, but we don't hear anything. And so how can we develop something that will permeate and become part of our organizational platform and culture? And we're at least the 4 or 5 of us that are participating with WISE and have done business process mapping and are working on those things, are trying to do it within the context of what you're talking about. And that is, let's find a project, let's do it within a project, and we can show value, and that can help make it part of what we do. So we're working on like governance and a few other things that can help make it be realistic and live within an organization.
Thank you. Duncan, yeah, I did note down what you said, the summary of the work that was done in the past year and the work plan for next year. A quick summary, you said a page, maybe it'll be a page and a half. But it's an excellent point, and I can't even sign my name within a single page. I have a problem being concise. Okay. But it's an excellent comment, and I'll try to put something like that together. And thank you for that comment.
Sure.
Michael, we haven't heard from Michael yet. Michael Washington.
Yeah. So I came into this probably in the middle of this second year or so. So just some perspective from my end. I like the material that's being discussed here because I think all utilities are struggling with the same problems as far as developing CIPs and things. A lot of the time we have struggles with executing on projects, and you know, some of the information that I would like to see a little bit more on along the lines is how utilities out there are, you know, you set up the CIP, but the delivery portion, how are utilities delivering projects? You know, there's multiple ways that you can deliver projects out there. And so I know at Tacoma Water, we've had various delivery models that we've utilized, and where they could be applicable and where you should be using them would be some type of good topic to discuss in the future. So just my thoughts.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So that's a complex thing you're talking about, really, and Let me think. Maybe maybe we can have a separate one-on-one conversation so I can maybe get get a better understanding and then get a few other people involved so we can get a sense for how to look into project delivery.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Okay, so anybody else wants to have any additional comments today? Okay, well, some people had a meeting at the top of the hour, so they had to leave. So we'll definitely keep with the time of 7:30. And I want to thank everybody, not just for participating in this call today, but